Alrighty, so today we're going to do the second preview of the conference semifinal. Now, looking at the Western Conference semifinal, and this is pretty much a matchup that it feels like we get every single year. I mean, the amount of time that LAFC versus the Seattle Sounders in the playoffs, I mean, it is definitely something, and that I'm pretty sure there are obviously some that are kind of tired of seeing this matchup, especially if you're a Seattle Sounders fan, considering that LAFC has single-handedly owned them in the last couple of years, not only in the regular season as well, but pretty much in all competition. That being said, this game is going to be the late night game, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Pacific. All-time meeting, yeah, with LAFC pretty much winning all the time against the Sounders. You know that the all-time meeting is starting to become a little bit of a lopsided affair. But the all-time meeting is a 13-4-5 record in favor of LAFC. Now, looking at the last five head-to-head matchup, again, when you look at these last couple of matchup in league play, it hasn't been close whatsoever. Now, keep in mind, I didn't include the Leeds Cup and also the U.S. Open Cup as well. And by the way, as I mentioned, how both of these teams have met each other a lot in the playoffs. They've also met each other a lot this season too. This is going to be the fifth meeting between both of these teams because both of these teams play in the Leeds Cup and also the U.S. Open Cup and the two regular season meeting as well. But the previous regular season meeting, it was a 3-0 LAFC win against the Sounders. Then the last time both of these teams play against each other in the league, which actually was the first game of the season with LAFC winning 2-1 against the Seattle Sounders. Then LAFC won 1-0 on the road against the Sounders before LAFC winning 1-0 against the Sounders. And the last time that Seattle did not lose to LAFC was a no draw that they had, but that was like almost six games ago in terms of the fact that, yeah, again, it's been a domination to its full in terms of LAFC owning Seattle in the last couple of meetings. Now, looking at the first round and how both of these teams, of course, get each other. Well, for LAFC, they had to need 3 games to beat the Vancouver Whitecaps. In fact, the Whitecaps really pushed LAFC to its brink, and that, yeah, if Vancouver, I thought that not only play well against LAFC, but if they would have finished their chances, maybe we would be seeing Vancouver versus Seattle instead of LAFC versus Seattle in this conference semifinal. But for LAFC in the first game, they won 2-1 against the Whitecaps. But then in their away game, they played probably one of their worst games of the season, a 3-0 thrashing that they took in the hands of the Whitecaps. And then in the pivotal decisive game, it took them 45 minutes before they finally woke up and eke out a narrow 1-0 win against the Whitecaps. And it's important to note that they, of course, last play in November 8th. For Seattle, they were actually able to get the better of the Houston Dynamo in 2 games, but they kind of did something very similar to what Minnesota. In fact, it's not just very similar, but they did exactly the same thing that Minnesota did, which is able to get a no draw and win in a PK shootout in the first game, and then get a 1-1 draw in the second game and win in the PK shootout as well. Except unlike where Minnesota, of course, were able to do that on the road in the first game and finish up at home, Seattle basically did the opposite. They were able to win the first game in a PK shootout, and then they were end up able to win the second game in a PK shootout as well, but this time on the road. But yeah, the first game against the Dynamo, they won 5-4 in the PK shootout, and then in the second game, they won 7-6 in the PK shootout. That PK shootout definitely went on for a while, and probably one of the best one we have seen in terms of the best of 3 series. If not, I think that was probably the best that we seen, because we have seen some PK shows that are just really been very bad, and how teams are just kind of missing left and right. And it's also important to note they last played in November 3rd, and it's been a while since the Sounders have played again. That could be a factor when it comes to the rust that all these teams is going to be feeling heading into this conference semifinal. Now, looking at the top goal scored for this LAFC team, well, it really is kind of a two-headed monster with Denise Bawanga and Mateus Bogush with 16 goals. And also, I just realized I made a slight mistake here, because I think I wrote Kike Oliveira name twice, even though technically he is actually third on the list when it comes to the goal scoring with 7 goals, but I accidentally wrote his name twice there. So let me just make sure I get the number for who is fourth on the list. Fourth on the list is Edouard Atuesta with 4 goals, and then Davin Martinez also with 4 goals to round up the top five. For the Sounders, their top goal scorer is Jordan Morris with 13 goals, although he has kind of been cooled off a bit. The same goes for Albert Rusnak with 10 goals. And then Raul Ruidiaz, surprisingly, actually on the top three list, despite the fact that you wouldn't expect him to play a lot this season. He still quietly chipped in an 8 goal season, and this could potentially be his last season for the Sounders, and especially this could potentially be his last game with the Seattle Sounders if the Sounders don't make it to the conference final. And then you got Paul Vrofrock chipped in with 5 goals, and Jackson Reagan a couple of times scoring on the set piece, ends up on the top 5 goal scoring with 3 goals apiece. Top assist leader, the order of the first two is pretty much the same as the top goal scorer, Denise Bwanga with 10 assists, followed by Bogut with 7 assists. Then you got Kai Kamara on the score on the assist chart with 5 assists. I would never have guessed that Kai Kamara would be a guy that would be the assist maker, but that's what it says. In terms of him being that number three at 5 assists. Then you got Ryan Hollinshead with 3 assists, and Nico Ordaz rounds up the top five with 3 assists as well. For Seattle, unsurprisingly, it's Albert Rusnak with 12 assists. Easily, this has been the best season for Albert Rusnak with the Sounders, even though he's still not reached anywhere close to the creativity and the productivity that Nico Ladero left this team a couple of years ago. Then you got Jordan Morris with 4 assists, Over Rodriguez with 4 assists, Leo Chu with 2 assists, and Paul Rothrock also with 2 assists to rounds up the top five in terms of the top assist leader for both of these teams. Now, obviously, the three big storyline coming into this. We know the domination that LAFC has had against the Sounders. In the last 6 games against the Seattle Sounder in all competition, LAFC have won the last 6 of them, and they have unbeaten in the last 10 games. The last time the Seattle Sounders were able to beat LAFC, you got to go all the way back to 2021 when that, of course, happened. But in this playoffs, if there's one thing we know about in this playoffs, especially when you look at the Eastern Conference side of the bracket, yeah, in terms of past form and also past narrative, you can throw that out of the window. I mean, it's been very unpredictable in terms of what we've seen in this playoffs. Well, I would say maybe a little bit more predictable in the Western Conference, but yeah, I mean, for overall in terms of this playoffs, it's been a story of chaos and upsets, allure, and just things that just doesn't make any sense in terms of how each team coming to the playoffs and able to knock off some of these heavyweights. So maybe, just maybe, this might be finally the time where Seattle can finally defeat that narrative that they can't beat LAFC. And heck, they were in this a couple years ago. Where remember a couple years ago when LAFC played against the Sounders? I think this was 2019, where LAFC were heavy favorites because they were on the back of the Supporters Shield winning season, a record-breaking season as well. And guess who they faced in the conference final and playing at home? It was against the Seattle Sounders. The Sounders won that one 3-1. They end up winning MLS Cup that year as well. So who knows? Maybe this might be the time where the Sounders will buck that narrative, provide a bit of a surprise. It's hard to believe I'm using surprise and the Sounders in the same sentence. You would have never guessed that is the case, but again, that's kind of how this series has been. I mean, I'm pretty sure Sounders fans they kind of feel like eventually this has got to end. Like eventually, yes, I know they have absolutely been owned by this LAFC team, and LAFC pretty much is the fodder of Seattle the last couple of time. That eventually things are going to different, and we'll see with the way that this playoffs has been unpredictable. Maybe this might be the surprise package. But obviously, the other big storyline coming into this one, and in terms of tactically, and when you look at the chess piece, obviously the big storyline I think for the Sounders is that their big players need to step up, and this has been a problem so far in the playoffs and really down the stretch as well. Where like previous Sounders team, this is a team that don't really have those attacking players steps up in big moment as well. I mean, when you look at the 2 game series against the Dynamo, that was a very ugly series. They just barely survive and able to move on because of those PK sure. And really, the only goal scorer in that series was Christian Rodon, and I think that was off of deflection if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, those big name players, Jordan Morris and Albert Rusnak, they need to step up in a big way. They have not stepped up so far in the playoffs and really down the stretch as well. And really for LAFC, the big thing coming into this game is that they can't just simply rely on counters and also just give up so much control of the game to their opposition. one of the big problems that they had against the Vancouver Whitecaps, and why the Whitecaps were very successful against LAFC, is that one, they did not allow LAFC to go on the break and run at them, and that's the key thing that I think Seattle is going to have to try to stop, and it's not going to be easy to stop LAFC, especially when you give the ball away cheaply in bad spot. LAFC can just go on the other way on the transition, but if you can stop that, you can definitely limit the production of this LAFC team. But also, one thing that Vancouver also showed to you is that don't be afraid to go at this LAFC team. Don't be afraid to kind of play what LAFC want you to do, which is trying to control possession, and then we can of course hit you on the counter attack. Again, this goes back to if you have the control of the ball, as long as you keep it and you don't turn the ball over in bad spot or allow LAFC to go at you on the other end, as Vancouver kind of shows you in those 3 game series, there's a high chance that you could actually beat this LAFC team. And again, Vancouver probably could would have won that one if they were a little bit better in terms of the finishing. And that's where, again, that's going to be the thing that Seattle might need to step up. Those big players, they need to be better in terms of their finishing, because as we see in the Houston series, they were not good in terms of their finishing either. So something tells me this all lines up to LAFC potentially getting a win and reaching to the Western Conference Final once again. This would be, I think, the third consecutive Western Conference Final that they reach. And again, I do think that at the end of the day, LAFC is still the team to beat in the Western Conference. Like when you look at the West right now, it is pretty clear that seems like LAFC has a good path of making it to the final, even though they're gonna face some really good opposition. And I think the last game kind of shows you that yes, they might be still the favorites to go out of the West and reach MLS Cup, but there are formula for that to for them to beat them, and we'll see whether or not if the Sounders can do so. I mean, if there's one team, of course, can do it, it would be the Seattle Sounders. But again, in this particular series, I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure will this maybe be finally the time that they would break this the curse that they had against LAFC. And if that is the case, I mean that just kind of sums up this playoffs. It's been nothing but chaos. Everything just doesn't make any sense. You can throw everything, all the tactics and all the 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 advantage out of the window. It's about what happened in terms of the game, and we'll see whether or not if LAFC once again continue to own it on Seattle, or will the Sounders finally defeat the narrative and finally able to win this game and move on to their first conference final since 2019. It's been a while since the Seattle Sounders, or actually, I'm sorry, not 2019. 2020 was the last time they made it to the Western Conference Final. That year, they also went to MLS Cup. I will not mention in terms of what happened in that Western Conference Final as a Minnesota fan, obviously. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, be sure to leave a like, smash the subscribe button. As always, let me know in the comments below what do you think of this game and your prediction of what's going to happen in this game. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.